Hello, my name is Adam and welcome back to my channel where I make a tabletop role-playing game from scratch on camera, and today we're talking about why you should develop multiple RPGs simultaneously. Before we start today's episode, I just want to remind you of the 96 likes. Before I started this project with Explorers RPG, I've been using this book to just note down different stuff that is role-playing related. And I think this will be fun and interesting for world builders, role players, and well, anyone. So 96 likes and I will make a video where I go through the 96 pages that I have here. And while you're down there, please press the subscribe button, but let's go on to the video. First of all, I want to clarify that I'm not a professional game designer and I have never published anything either, so the advice I'm giving is purely an opinion from an amateur. So take my advice for what it is. And my opinion is that I think you should develop more than one RPG simultaneously. The reason is that your RPG can't do everything, even though you think it should. Every good RPG I've come across has a specialty that they're aiming at. They have a set of design goals and trim off any fat that doesn't serve that goal. But what I usually do is that I come across a new RPG with a cool new mechanic or a setting that I like, maybe a cool adventure, and you just have to add it to your game. And what will happen is that it won't actually fit your game. You want a fluid combat system, a crafting system, a system for social encounters, a magic system that is both fair and creative, and you change out your dice mechanic every month. It eventually becomes bloated and incoherent because you want everything to be cool in your game. Social encounters are not cool in D&D, and that's fine. If you want to play a game with heavy political intrigue, you play a different game than D&D. RPGs should have a design goal and a purpose. Like my orcs, which only does combat. It does it well, I hope, but you won't be able to do any meaningful crafting or diplomacy in the game. And that's not the point of the game either, because it won't fit the theme of the over-the-top action. That's why a good design principle to follow is to kill your darlings. You might think that the crafting system you found is cool, but it just won't fit in your game. If you instead work on multiple RPGs simultaneously, you can place a mechanic or parts of a setting in whichever RPG fits it best, rather than trying to force feed it into just one. Like what I did with my Orcs RPG. If I come across something fun or weird or a pun on communism, or I come across a blog or a video that has some creative mechanics, then I'll put it in the Orcs game. If I come across more survival, gritty mechanics, I put it in Explorers. I also have a kind of sci-fi RPG and a kid-friendly RPG brewing in my mind, but it's more like a mechanic dump where I dump stuff I like that doesn't fit anywhere else. And there's nothing wrong with having multiple RPGs set in the same setting either. This is what they do in the World of Darkness RPGs. There are complete books on how to be a wizard or a vampire. You can play them together, but it's more fun to stick to one rulebook at a time. So let's take Orcs as an example. It focuses on killing and looting, but what if I want to expand the universe? I have a small passage in the lore section of the Orcs rulebook. Goblins roam the sky in pirate zeppelins and raid the bird folk. guardians of the ancient ruins from a long-dead advanced bird civilization that lived in the Badlands. Well, that's a mouthful. Anyways, it would be really cool to play a group of pirate goblins on an airship, and perhaps I'll make that RPG one day. It would have some sort of ship mechanic, maybe chase mechanics or bombardments, etc. And the feel of the game would be totally different than that of the Orcs game. So why not make a totally different rule set for goblins raiding the Badlands and orcs raiding the Badlands? Still set in the same universe, but different games. So if you have a cool setting you love to explore in different contexts, don't limit yourself to thinking that everything within the setting has to be in the same rulebook. Another thing to consider is that you're in a learning process. You can't expect to make the next D&D on your first try. You need to have some practice first. I recently watched the latest video from Game Maker's Toolkit, where he's on his journey to make a video game. He had no prior knowledge about coding or game making, and in that video he explains how he started to learn how to make games. His solution was simply copy simple and popular mobile games like Flappy Bird and Pop the Lock to practice. I'll put a link in the video in the description so you can watch it yourself. The reason why he did this was simple: practicing how to make video games. He took a video game, broke it down into smaller elements like scoring systems, physics and level generation, and tried to rebuild it in order to see what was needed to get to a finished product. And the same practice can be done when making a tabletop role-playing game. Let's take Dread as an example, and this could be your homework until my next video. What are the core mechanics of Dread? It's basically a horror game where every player pulls blocks from a Jenga tower until it collapses, in which case the character dies or somehow leaves the story. Now, I encourage you to look at a gameplay session of someone playing the game, preferably where they don't explain the rules too much. Take that footage and try to recreate the rules. What triggers a pull? What happens if that pull succeeds? What if it fails? What is a legal and illegal pull? What happens if someone doesn't pull or aborts it midway? All these questions are answered in the rulebook of Dread, so your task is to try to recreate it based on what you've seen of the game. If you do this, you practice on making rules. You're training to find loopholes, figuring out words and passages that are descriptive, and think about all the consequences of implementing this mechanic. And you also have a reference, so you can see if you've covered all the loopholes or if Dread has passages that are more precise than yours. You can also practice by making homebrew rules. Try to make a new class in D&D or a magic item or a spell. Try it out in a couple of game sessions and see if it works out. If the players don't find it fun, try to figure out why and find a way to fix it. It could be that the rules for the spell wasn't clear enough, that it was overpowered, or that the idea you had didn't really work in practice. Best case scenario is that you only need to add a few lines of text. Worst case, you have to scrap half a page. But that's far better than realizing that after 50 pages of rules, the game you're working on simply isn't fun to play. So to summarize, you should develop multiple RPGs simultaneously because you can put the right mechanic into the right RPG. You can make different RPGs specialized in a certain theme but in the same world setting, and you can become better at making RPGs in general, which just makes you a better game designer. And of course, because it's fun. It's fun to make tabletop RPGs. I hope that helps, folks. Please put in the comment section all your RPGs that you're working on right now and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because you don't want to miss the next episode. I'm working on a totally new project that is completely different from my usual stuff. Stay tuned and see ya.